Deals, not war. That's the focus of tonight's angle. In Saudi Arabia, we saw 4 different traits of Donald Trump on display today: the deal maker, the peacemaker, the optimist, and the realist. Let's start with the deal maker. The deals announced by the White House totaled around $283 billion for the U.S. The 2 biggest deals included Saudi Arabia's agreement to buy about $142 billion in military goodies from our defense industry, plus $20 billion for AI data centers and energy infrastructure. Good stuff. And the White House officials insist, look, they've only just begun. And organizers of the Saudi Investment Forum held today, attended by some of America's top CEOs, also announced a total of 145 deals totaling more than $300 billion.
With this trip, we're adding over $1 trillion more in terms of investment into our country and buying our products. And, you know, nobody makes military equipment like us. We have the best military equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best everything, best submarines.
The best salesman for America. And isn't that nice? Especially compared to what we had during Biden's 2022 trip to Saudi Arabia.
I know it's late, but thank you for being here. Had a good series of meetings. Just finished more than 2 hours meetings with Saudi leadership here in Jeddah, meeting with the king for about a little over half an hour, working session with the Crown Prince and all the ministers from the energy minister to the sports minister, all the way down the line. This trip is about, once again, positioning America in this region for the future. We are not going to leave a vacuum in the Middle East for Russia or China to fill, and we're getting results.
Oh, really? 2 whole hours he met with people? Well, Biden's results were evident from the minimalist backdrop he had. Remember the greeting he received from the Saudi leadership, the fist bump? Meanwhile, the Saudis treated Trump with the respect he deserved. From the moment he walked down the stairs, I love the purple, from Air Force One, to the moment he departed. Yeah. Look, he didn't come to lecture Saudi Arabia, but to treat them like a real economic power. This is why the Investment Forum was such a masterstroke, because it benefits American workers by pushing more money into the United States. And the gathering included America's biggest corporate titans from Uber, Google, OpenAI, Palantir, and many others around the world, like Jensen Huang from NVIDIA.
Where is Jensen, by the way? Where is he? He's standing here. Where is he? I just saw that. Thank you very much, Jensen. I mean, Tim Cook isn't here. But you are. What a job you've done. He said he's got 99% of the chip market. I don't know. That's a big, that's not easy to beat. But what a job you've done. Thank you. We are proud to have you in our country. You know that. Thank you for the investment.
But it wasn't just Trump the deal maker. It was Trump the peacemaker. Saudi Arabia may not have wanted to hear this, but Trump needed to say it.
It's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia will soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East. I took a risk in doing them, and they've been an absolute bonanza for the countries that have joined.
And Trump even offered an off-ramp to Iran with a warning.
If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive, maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero. The choice is theirs to make. We really want them to be a successful country. We want them to be a wonderful, safe, great country. But they cannot have a nuclear weapon. This is an offer that will not last forever.
Oh, I love that. It's not going to last. Better act now. So, enraging the forever war crowd, Trump has even said he'll meet with Syria's new leader. Now, mind you, we haven't had normal diplomatic relations with Syria in over a decade. And since 1979, they've designated them a state sponsor of terrorism. But President Trump announced an end to sanctions there in order to give peace a chance. And that starts with a conversation.
I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. In Syria, which has seen so much misery and death, there is a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. That's what we want to see.
Now, as uncomfortable as this makes official Washington, people who can't think outside their bubbles, I'm going to ask this tonight. What is the alternative for the United States? Because we've had decades of war and interventionism and lectures and military tensions. None of it's worked. If anything, in many cases, we made matters worse, including for ourselves. Trillions of dollars wasted, thousands of lives lost. Never get them back. And that brings us to Trump, the realist. Now, as much as we'd like to think that we have power and authority, enough of it, to order around the rest of the world, it simply doesn't work. We end up offending potential allies that we may need down the road for our own security. And because he's Trump, he couldn't resist reminding everyone of the failed strategies of his predecessors.
In recent years, far too many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. It is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America, and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what I really want to do.
Now, how can liberals be against this? They used to be anti-war and pro-peace. But because Donald Trump is better at peace than they are, they're suddenly for war? What? Again, we don't have to love everyone we work with. We're never going to. But we do need to be realistic about meddling in other countries' affairs.
As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think.
This is bold and it's refreshing. It's totally something we haven't seen before from an American president. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable, but not I. Finally, undergirding all of this is Trump, the optimist. Like, why condemn America to the unsuccessful policies and strategies of the past? Why not chart a path that is uniquely focused on making America stronger, more prosperous, and it would be nice, a little happier, get along a little bit better? And that may require new partnerships for a better future.
Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that.
Now, being an aggressive advocate for peace, it's always going to require optimism. But Trump's isn't blind, because it's never, ever overridden by what's good for America first.
Most importantly, for the people in this room, the days of economic misery under the last administration are rapidly giving way to the greatest economy in the history of the world. We are rocking. The United States is the hottest country, with the exception of your country, I have to say, right? I'm not going to take that on. No, Mohammed, I'm not going to take that on.
Yeah, even with no sleep, he doesn't sleep. A 12-hour flight, Trump still flashed his sense of humor. So in the coming months, we're going to be checking to confirm that deals promised are deals done. But for now, you're seeing the deal maker, the peacemaker, the realist, and the optimist at work.
Trump got an escort in Saudi Arabia. Not that kind. A military escort from the Saudi Air Force. 47 kicking off his first major international trip of the second term. Usually presidents go to Canada, Mexico, or a NATO ally first. Trump picked Saudi Arabia because that's where the money is. The Saudis rolled out the lavender carpet. Over there, lavender is a symbol of generosity. It represents the blossoming wildflowers in their deserts. Trump, right on cue, rocking a lavender tie to match. The Saudi crown prince breaking protocol and greeting Trump personally on the tarmac. Usually they send an underling. Trump got a handshake. Remember, Biden gave the prince a fist bump after calling him a pariah, then begged the kingdom to pump more oil. And the prince was like, sorry, Joe, not happening. In Saudi Arabia, to quote the great Lil' Kim, it's about money, power, and respect. That's Trump's language. A traditional welcome coffee ceremony followed, but POTUS isn't a coffee drinker. So they gave him a cup and he held it like it was poison. Trump over-caffeinated. Can you imagine? They should have just given him a Diet Coke. The Saudis claim Trump later took a sip, but we think he faked it. The coffee ritual symbolizes hospitality, friendship, honor, and respect. Back in the beast, dozens of Arabian horsemen holding American and Saudi flags escorted him through the streets. In Saudi Arabia, horses represent beauty, nobility, and pride, whereas in America, they're just another thing we bet on. Then the honor guard welcomed the president, each holding golden swords. The Arab swords stand for justice, strength, and sovereignty in Saudi culture. But the most meaningful symbol of all, a mobile McDonald's truck. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. But Trump didn't grab a Big Mac. He had other lunch plans. The Saudis hosted the whole cabinet, plus American business titans at the royal court. On the menu, miso beef with fermented vegetables and bacon crumbles to start. Main course, grilled black Angus and silky potatoes. And an extra virgin olive oil parfait with strawberry salad for dessert. But they barely had time to eat. They were too busy cutting deals.
We have the biggest business leaders in the world here today. They're going to walk away with a lot of checks for a lot of things that you're going to provide. And in the United States, it's probably 2 million jobs that we're talking about.
Executives from Coca-Cola, Citigroup, IBM, Delta, United, BlackRock, Google, and Amazon, all in the desert with Trump. Also, Musk was there. Big Balls stayed in D.C. to watch the fraud. But 47's the main attraction. He managed to shake every hand in the kingdom. If you were a Saudi citizen, you probably shook his hand. After a record rope line, the prince drove the president around in a golf cart before dinner, then played Trump's favorite song. I don't think the village people would have survived too long in Saudi Arabia, but that's neither here nor there. Golf, McDonald's, jet, swords, and the YMCA. The Saudis are laying it on thick. But Trump came on a mission: spread money and peace.
The new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism.
We know the Saudis aren't the nicest guys, but the Middle East isn't what you'd call a nice neighborhood. When you go to a bad neighborhood, it's nice to have a friend. Biden called the prince a killer. What'd that get us besides $5 gas? Not a lot. Trump took a different tack.
If I didn't like him, I'd get out of here so fast. You know that, don't you? He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give so much, you know? Too much. I like you too much. Great guy.
After that, Trump was basically like, how do you sleep at night?
Mohammed, you sleep at night? How do you sleep? Huh? Just thinking. What a job. He tosses and turns like some of us. Tosses and turns all night. How do I make it even better all night? It's the ones that don't toss and turn. They're the ones that will never take you to the promised land, won't they? But you have done some job.
The point of the trip is to tell the region, let's make money, not war. Nobody wants their legacy written in blood. Put down the sword and take out the checkbook.
Just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully.
But if there's no respect, there's no mercy.
I will never hesitate to wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States or to help defend our allies. And there will be no mercy for any foe who tries to do us or them harm.
That was a message to the Iranians and all their proxies in the region, and for that matter, anyone around the world who gets frisky. It's just day one of the Middle East tour, and Trump's bringing home the bacon. The biggest arms deal in history. Plus, the prince signed over $600 billion in investments, but Trump wants $1 trillion.
The investment in America was up an astounding 22%. More than $10 trillion of new investments have been announced or are coming just since the election on November 5th.
Looks like the experts were wrong again. They said Trump couldn't bring back manufacturing. Now countries are paying us to make their chips. They said tariffs would trigger inflation. Well, it just hit the lowest rate in 4 years. JP Morgan says there isn't going to be a recession. And the stock market is up on the year. Oh, and eggs are cheaper.
Oil is down, eggs are down, food is down. We're seeing that reflected. So all that hysteria over tariffs is not showing up in these numbers.
Why do they keep calling the experts if they're wrong every time? Trump's telling Muslims to stop killing each other and instead make a killing here in America. And it's working. Do you think the Democrats will give him any credit? Nah.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities to ban the camps from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. Who hasn't?
What's a condom?
But as always, when a far-left Dem runs for national office, he acts like a Republican. This is where the left is really pro-trans. Suddenly, they grow balls. So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay. No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends. And
They like the show, okay?
And the man who made it acts like he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's pure government grift, shoving you down a flight of stairs and then making you pay for the handrail. We've been lied to for years that homelessness is all about affordable housing. Fentanyl isn't the problem. It's that loan officer at the bank. Yet as we walk to work, we never saw families or kids, just men. So strung out on fentanyl, they look like they were playing Twister without a mat. Affordable housing won't change that. Give them a house, they'll burn it down when they pass out holding a crack pipe. Where do they think they are? The White House? See, to the Dems, the homeless were always victims, and they are, of Democrats. The people in these encampments are mentally ill, addicted, sometimes violent, often incapable of basic hygiene, let alone stable living. Imagine a commune, but everyone works at MSNBC. You know, it didn't used to be that way. When we were growing up, we called the homeless hobos. They were rare, colorful characters carrying their prized possessions in a bindle, drinking Mad Dog 2020, and wearing Michael Dukakis for President t-shirts. But then it changed. Hobos became the homeless, a protected class given victim status, which became an incentive for people to migrate towards busy areas to mingle with the normies immune from the law, which made it worse because contempt for these folks only grew with more contact. Have you ever taken your mom shopping at Embarcadero Center on her birthday and watched a man defecate in front of her? I did. And that man was Brian Kilmeade. He cleaned himself up. But common sense says that you put these people in treatment and then return the streets of San Fran to the folks who made them famous, cross-dressing hookers. It's like the wildfires. Gavin blames climate change when it was his corrupt bureaucracy. Since the Palisades fire, which destroyed 6,000 buildings, only 4 permits have been issued for rebuilding. Did climate change cause that? Hell no. So like the fires, Newsom let homelessness run wild. He allowed tens of billions of dollars to be swallowed up by a maze of consultants, nonprofits, and bureaucrats who created poop mats. It's sad. Californians used to sell maps of celebrity homes, not landmines. Now, instead of sightseeing, tourists play hopscotch so their shoes don't get hepatitis. And when residents complain, they're called cruel. And now we're supposed to believe Gavin? Hell no. All the problems of the last decade were based on his and his party's lies. A man can grow his hair out and play girls' sports. A gangbanger can claim he's oppressed. That homeless junkie, he's just an out-of-work artist. See, Newsom wasn't just ignoring the problem. He enabled it because Dems were in a woke crouch, terrified of their loony base. But now that he's seeing the White House, he's got a brand new act, a common-sense centrist. Just a soccer dad in khakis, fed up with crime and chaos. It's all bull. A costume, a political drag show. And the kids this drag queen is reading to are the gullible voters. He's the classic wolf in sheep's hair gel. Just watch him answer the tough questions.
Any other questions here?
Yes, Governor. California has a terrible homeless problem. Why do you think that is?
You know, I appreciate that question. And I think it's a matter of perspective. Let's kind of flip the script on that, okay? Let's kind of put a new lens on that. I mean, you see a homeless man. I see an outdoorsman. We got a lot of natural habitat in this state, and I'm just so proud that so many people in California can take advantage of that. All right, next question.
Yes, Governor. People are calling you Greasy Gavin. Why do you think that is?
Look, I appreciate that question. I want to tell you, I've been taking fewer showers lately, and I think people have been noticing that, all right? Fewer showers, shorter showers. We want to save water here in California. We want to keep those reservoirs filled up because I don't know if you've noticed, but every once in a while, for no reason at all, California does tend to burst into flame. That's it, okay? I think we answered everything.
Let's welcome tonight's guest. Fox makes him work so many hours as a personal favor to his wife. Fox and Friends co-host and host of One Nation, Brian Kilmeade. By being here tonight, he clearly had nothing going on. Comedian Sherrod Small. This former cheerleader will give you an H for headache. Co-host of Outnumbered, Emily Campagno. He's big in Japan and everywhere else. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion, Tyrus. Kilmeade, based on your low book sales, you should be homeless. What do you think of the current state of California homelessness?
First, I'd like to address the crowd. You laughed at his monologue and you turned on me before I had a chance to say a word. I'll never forgive you. Number 2, my book sales might be the best in the company, but I know you're so jealous to bring that up. Stop it! Gavin Newsom wants to be president.
Yeah.
But the problem is his track record, his performance as mayor, as lieutenant governor, and governor. And your analogies are great. I think mine are better. And just hold on, and here's why. He shows up at the fires and says, who the hell caused this? I'm going to crack down on the people responsible. He sees the homeless encampments blocking the sidewalks and said, you guys clean that up. He started it. He spent $3 billion to fix it. And his opening words in 2020 when he got the job is, it's a disgrace. The richest state in the country and the richest nation of the world has a homeless problem. I will fix it. He spends $1 billion. When it's not fixed, he blames the mayors, and he also forced the movie industry and Silicon Valley out of the best state in the country by high taxes. I've never seen someone with such a bad performance, but yet I think he's the front runner to get the nomination for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. They got nobody else. Sherrod, welcome back to my world.
I love you. I missed you.
I missed you too.
Yes.
He dates back to Red Eye. I watched him at 3 in the morning.
Nobody cares about you, Brian.
I can't do it.
Stop stealing time from Sherrod. You got rid of Ducey. Now you want to get rid of Sherrod.
Are you saying this is a black-white thing?
Yes.
I mean, what the hell are you bringing race into it for?
Yo, Sherrod, you live in New York.
Yes.
When people tell you what homeless is, you know what it is.
Well, in New York, it's cooler because they perform on the subways.
Yes.
But I like how Gavin is pretending like he's not part of the four families that run California.
Yeah.
You know, the Newsoms, the Browns, the Gettys, and the Pelosi's.
Yeah.
It's like this problem started way back, and his family's a part of it. It's longer than his tenure as governor.
Yeah. So, what else is new?
Just doing shows, Greg. I missed you, though. I missed you.
Yeah, that's good. I love the jacket.
Thank you. It's yours after the show.
Thank you. Emily?
Get it altered.
Yes. It's unnecessary. Don't laugh, Emily. You won't be on the show anymore.
They had one like this at Baby Gap. I'll get you that one.
Do they even have Baby Gap anymore? Oh, thank you. I just want to save a trip.
Like he didn't know.
You know what, Emily, what drives me always crazy living in the city is when a tourist in my neighborhood would give money to a homeless guy, and then they go back to Nebraska or Arizona and feel good about themselves. But that just made sure that that homeless guy is going to stay on my street. They don't understand that you're feeding the problem.
And ironically that you said that, because when I was subjected to Newsom as mayor when I lived in San Francisco, remember he had the Care Not Cash program.
Yes.
And his whole point was, no, let's actually not spend money. But here's the thing. It was actually in concept a brilliant plan because he didn't think of it. It was his campaign manager's idea. And that was before Gavin Newsom then slept with his wife. That's why like people who have memories, who remember his decades tenure of being born with a silver spoon, pretending he's not, sharing all the donor monies of the 5 families, and then leaving an imprint of colossal feces in California. Those of us who grew up with him.
Colossal feces.
Yes, we've been subjected to it this whole time.
I heard them open for Blue Oyster Cult.
But he has spent, historically, there is no one that has spent more money on the homeless, and yet with such a meteoric rise on the homeless. But here's the thing. He, this entire time, has been obviously playing, he's been reading the room. So when his world was just California, it was just San Francisco, he was as radical as it gets. Just California, radical as it gets. But now that he's eyeing the whole full geography of the United States, then he's like, okay, I gotta be mainstream. But it's the mainstream media that is paving the way for that. That says, oh yes, we'll forgive you. Yep, so now Newsom is the centrist. Like, they will forget the past, even though we won't.
Yes, Tyrus, don't you miss the hobos? Don't you miss hobos?
No,
with a big tin of beans?
My mom was pretty clear what stranger danger meant, Greg. So you didn't go hang out and the guy in the van for lollipops. You ran the other way. So.
That's how I supplemented my allowance.
I can imagine. Well, speaking of full of isn't it? I'm sorry, I'm confused. He's still governor, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So he could do something about it. That's the most irritating thing, is that why did anyone say with a follow-up where he's like, the homeless situation is ridiculous? Follow-up question, aren't you the governor?
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference. That's the difference between the radical left and President Trump. He'll talk about something as it's being taken care of. He's going to go up and say, listen, I'm going to sign an executive order to stop homelessness, and here's how we're going to do it. Bam, 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 done. The border, done. 5 days later, 99%, no one's crossed. They're standing at the border like, you go. No, that, you go. Like, no one wants to go. Newsom goes down there and says, oh, there's a problem. This is what we saw this in New York when he put, what's his name, that Blasio, the guy you really hate?
Bill de Blasio.
He put his wife in charge of the homeless, and there's $50 million still missing?
Yeah.
So this is another one of the left's money schemes where the guy who's in charge is saying, we need help, we need to figure out a way to do this. So they're going to make a committee. They already have bubonic plague in California. I remember Dr. Drew was going, there's bubonic plague back in California. Wow. I grew up in California. I will not bring my kids back to my neighborhood because I don't feel like walking through, as you affectionately call, hobos, drug addicts and pedophiles and criminals who hide there because it's a great place to hide and commit crimes. So he could do something. He doesn't want to do something. He's just saying to see if American people are stupid enough to fall for his.
Yeah, you know what we used to call, gotta move on. We had hobos. You know what we used to call the female hobos? What? Hoblos. Up next, the Black Pope. I came up with that.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.